Delegation does not mean escaping from your job. Delegation only means that you are providing an opportunity. Authority only means that you have been given with some sort of responsibility, a delegation, so that you lead from the front. You need to take up the accountability of answering to the customer and saying that, yes, we will get it resolved. So that's where accountability comes. It's on you. You are answerable to each and every action that you are doing. Good morning and welcome to the session 2 in Unit 3 in Management of Principles and Practices, where we are going to talk about the delegation of authority. That's a very interesting topic to talk about when we start using the word authority. Why? Because authority is something that every one of us crave in our life. We want to be powerful. We want to show the world that we have the power to rule. And that's exactly what happens in the organization also. Everybody wants to have an authorized designatory power to sign on the papers, to tell people that I can command, I can lead, and I can take it forward. So now let's talk about this delegation of authority, which means division of authority and power towards the subordinates. Very important for all of us to know here. Why? Because I'm not going to give the authority just like that. I'm going to divide the power and the authority towards the subordinate. So if there is a manager here, the manager knows that he cannot take the entire work and do it by himself. Rather, what he does is that he starts dividing the authority, the responsibility among his team members and starts delegating the work. Followed by, delegation is about entrusting someone else to do the parts of your job. What do I typically mean by delegation? It means to say that you are giving the responsibility, you are sharing the responsibility with your team members so that they will be able to complete the task within the given time frame. Now, delegation does not mean, very importantly, I would like to bring out this point, delegation does not mean escaping from your job. Delegation only means that you are providing an opportunity. You are trusting somebody in terms of completion and you are giving the job to them. So delegation is entrusting, not escaping from the job. Followed by, it can be defined as a subdivision or suballocation of powers, which is very important. You are dividing a job. You are dividing the entire setup into different parts, into different units, so that they will be able to solve the problem, they will be able to achieve the objective. It is not mandatory every time that I come and I say that I will take up the job, I will do it by myself. The most important thing for a manager is that give the job to others, follow them up and find out whether you are able to achieve the objectives as prescribed. Followed by, authority can be defined as the power or right of a person to use and allocate the resources efficiently to take the decision. The word authority is so interesting. Why? Because the word itself says that you have some sort of power, some sort of command over the given scenario. I am the authorized person in the college. I am the authorized person in this house. I am the authorized person in the organization, which means to say that you hold some power within yourself. You hold some rights with yourself. You have that capacity to delegate, you have the capacity to sign, you have the capacity to make a decision on the spot. So that's why authority becomes a wonderful topic to be discussed upon. Now what happens here is that people love to give orders. People hate to take orders. That's where the difference comes in terms of management. So when you are an authorized person, when you have the authority with you, you start giving orders to people. You tell them, do this in this way. You have to come at 9 o'clock. You can log out only at 5 o'clock. You can stand here. You need to work here. You need to wear this kind of dress. I'm throwing orders at people. Why? Because I have the authority to do so. But unfortunately, many people get it completely wrong. They are misguided. They are manipulated in their thoughts that authority is all about throwing your power, throwing your weight on others. But what is real authority? Authority means that you have the capacity to make use of the resources efficiently, allocate it properly so that you are able to achieve the organizational objectives. Authority doesn't mean that you raise your collar, you raise your voice and you talk to people. Authority only means that you have been given with some sort of responsibility, a delegation, so that you lead from the front. Followed by, authority must be well defined. Very, very important word. It has to be well defined. Can it be something which is loosely coupled words altogether? Definitely not. Why do I say that? Because you need to know the scope under which you are working, and you should not misutilize it. You should not use it for your personal use altogether. Now, when I use that word well defined, that means you know your boundaries. You know where the limits are placed. Authority doesn't mean that you can hold anybody's collar at any point of time. Authority means that you know your boundaries, you know your activities, and you are going to stick to that limits. You're going to understand that the nature and scope of the work is well within that factor, and you're going to tell people very clearly that please do the work according to the plan. So when you allocate the work, when you allocate the resources, when you allocate the activities, you tell very clearly to the people there that these are the meanings, these are the reason why I'm giving you. Or else, please don't take up the job, just leave it, no problem about it. But I do not want a person who comes back and gives me the order, gives me that factor that I can use power at any point of time. No, that is not accepted at all. Now, authority is the right to give commands, orders to the things done. That is very, very essential, very, very important. The top level management has the greatest authority. Now, this is very, very important. Authority starts not from the lowermost point, from the topmost level altogether. So anybody who's in the top management will have the right, will have the maximum authority in terms of commanding the entire thing. So that's why we always say here, whenever you talk about authority, whenever you talk about the commanding chain, the hierarchy altogether, authority comes from the top. The voice always comes from the top. The work always gets done at the bottom level. So that's why authority is a very, very interesting topic for all of us to understand. Followed by, authority flows from top to bottom. It explains how a superior gets work done from a subordinate by clearly explaining him what he needs and how he needs to get it done altogether. So the flow is from the top to bottom. Let me just mark it up for you. It's from the top to bottom. Now, the flow, when it's from top to bottom, it is not just about the words. It is not just about the accent. It is not just about the power. It is all about how you take up the work, explain it to your subordinate, how exactly the work has to be done, how easily he can complete the task, what are the challenges, what he needs to look into, how he needs to do the work, how the work should be error-free. All these things have to be clearly told by the superior to his subordinate. That's where I'm talking about the flow from the top to that of the bottom. This is very, very important for all of us to understand. Followed by, it is accompanied by the equal amount of responsibility. Now, underline that word very, very clearly here. When I say that it is accompanied by a responsibility, I'm trying to say that I cannot just walk away from the college, I cannot walk away from the system, I cannot walk away from the institution saying that I have given the job to my junior. My job is to see that until my junior completes the work, I stay back, I see that the work is accomplished. So which means I share the equal amount of responsibility in getting that work done. I cannot just escape from the scenario and say that it is given to somebody, they will finish it and they will submit it. Well, that is not what exactly is expected from a manager. What is expected from a manager is that he has the authority to give it somebody, but then he will stand back, he will sit, he will watch whether the authority is being done. You cannot escape from the accountability factor. You need to be accountable for each and every activity, for each and every action that you have taken, so that when you come back and when you tell people, this is what I have done, that's what people will believe you, and that's what people will say, wow, you've done the job with the utmost responsibility. So at any point of time, please do not take authority on a misguided view at all. It is all about taking the accountability, taking the responsibility, understanding it very, very clearly that yes, you will be able to do it and you will be able to give the best of you in terms of the job that is to be completed. Followed by responsibility. How do you define the word responsibility? Even more interesting. Why? Because the person who is given the responsibility should ensure that he accomplishes the task that is assigned to him. Responsibility is all about taking the initiative. That's where responsibility comes into picture. Just look into this picture altogether. When the fingers are pointing towards him, all the fingers that are pointing towards him, that says that you are responsible, you took the initiative, you took the undertaking, that yes, you will do it. Which means you have promised to the organization, given whatever be the circumstances, whatever might be the challenges that comes on my way, I will do it. I will take it up. It's on my shoulders that I will drive what has been told. So that is why I always say here, whenever a task is being assigned to you, please be very careful. Think twice whether will you be able to take up that responsibility of completing the task. Do not just raise your hand because you also want to participate. Raise your hand when you understand and you believe that you will be able to complete the task. So what is very important here is that not just about raising the hand and making yourself feel happy or making others getting happy about or impressing others. It is all about the factor that will you be able to complete the task by yourself. Responsibility is where you take up the completion activity. Now that's why I say that if the task which he was held responsible are not completed, then he should not be able to give explanation or excuses. Coming to this line, I always want to quote these words when I'm talking about this particular situation. Human resource is something which is very, very important aspect of the organization. But what does the organization expect from HR? The word called as human resource. What do we expect out of this HR? Organization always says, we want results and not reasons. Please understand this word very, very clearly. We want results and we don't want reasons. So that's where I exactly come here. I don't want excuses. I don't want explanations. I want performance. I want excellence, which means to say that I want you to complete the job. I want you to come back and tell me, yes, the job is done. That's why we say that responsibility without adequate authority leads to discontent and dissatisfaction among the person. So if I am not giving you the adequate authority, the adequate tools, the adequate factors that can help you to achieve a job, and you just take it up and you start solving the problem, at the end of the day, you're going to come back and tell me, sir, it is not accomplished. Why? Because I'm not feeling satisfied. I was not able to do it. This job was not up to the mark. You are going to come back and give me reasons. So for that factor, I'm going to come back and tell you, I'll give you the adequate responsibility, the adequate position, the power, the job, everything, so that when you complete the task, you should be contented. You should be satisfied with the factor that, yes, I have completed it with all satisfaction. That's where responsibility becomes very interesting. Moving further, responsibilities flows from the bottom to top. Now I'm reversing the order. It moves from the bottom to the top. Why? The middle level, the lower level management are more responsible, are held responsible for the task. Why? Because the job is assigned from the top to bottom, but the work is done at the bottom level. So if you are a worker, you are a supervisor, you are a manager, the level of work undertaken will be more. Why? Because you have to complete the task that is being assigned by your superiors. So that's why I would always say that a person is held for a job, he is answerable for it. If he performs a task that is expected, he is bound for praises. When you complete your job and you go back and tell your manager, this, I have completed it on time, Be sure that you are going to get a promotion, you are going to get an incentive, you are going to get a pay hike. Why? Because you are going to be praised for the activity that you have done. Two things are very, very important when you accept responsibility. One is time. Second is perfection. When you can complete the job within the time, including the perfection, showing your capability, showing your excellence, showing your capacity and ability that yes, you can complete a job on the given time, automatically you will be among the star performers in the organization. So always believe on this factor. When you complete the job, be rest assured that you are going to be among the star performers. You are going to be recognized by the organization either through monetary or through any kind of other recognition programs. Why? You become an example. So when you complete a task, please understand that you are setting an example. You are telling people that yes, I am a trustable person. You can bank upon me at any time of situation, and I will complete the job for you. And that's what your manager really loves in you. But on the other hand, if he doesn't accomplish the task assigned, you become answerable. You'll yet turn out to be another example, but in a negative manner. Why? Because people will point finger at you and say that, where were you? What did you do? So that's why I always say that responsibility is like walking on a knife's edge. You need to be very careful. You try to play around, you're going to cut your own leg. So always take responsibility seriously, accomplish the task, come back and tell the world that yes, I am capable of doing it. Yes, I did it with my own acumen, with my own ability and power. Moving forward, accountability. Now, this is even more interesting. What is this accountability all about? Why do people talk about this accountability in line and length so much? Because it cannot be delegated. Please underline that word. Accountability cannot be delegated, which means to say that once A delegates a task to B and ensure that the task is done well, though the responsibility is with B, but the accountability is with A, which means if the manager says that I have given my task to somebody in the team, and the manager is A and the worker is B. Now A has given the job to B, no doubts about it, fantastic. But then what is going to now come into picture? B might be responsible because manager will go back and ask the worker, have you completed the task on time? But at the end of the day, who is accountable for the performance? It's the manager. Accountability cannot be shared. Accountability cannot be thrown on others' head. Accountability is all about you. So you are accountable for your actions. So please understand that if you are in top level management and you want to reach the top level management, you need to be a most accountable person. Once you take up the accountability, you show people that yes, you are capable in terms of getting the work done, then your accountability level starts moving up. Being accountable, being innovative as a person who thinks beyond the scope of the job, that's very, very important here. You use different methods, tools, motivation, techniques, all left to you. Nobody is going to stop you there. Nobody is going to say that a work has to be done only in this manner. What everybody wants is that, will the work get done on time? So when you say that you are accountable, you will take up that responsibility and do it, fantastic. Nobody is just going to stop you, put a barricade there. But what they want is that, can you do the job? So you can use your own innovative methods, tools and techniques and get that work done. Once you're able to do it and you're able to come back and say that, then people believe in you. People say that, yes, this guy has got the capacity to spin the magic. That's why people say accountability is a very big thing to take up. Now, accountability, in short, being answerable at the end result. It cannot be escaped and it is rising from the responsibility. So you are answerable. In a very simple way, let me tell you, let's say that you are working in the customer service department. When the customer calls, he does not know the manager. He does not know the vice president or the GM or the CEO of the call center. He doesn't want to know that. He only wants to know whether his issue will be resolved, yes or no. So for him, you are accountable. When the call comes to you and the customer starts asking the question, why on the earth this happened to me? You need to take up the call. You need to take up the accountability of answering to the customer and saying that, yes, we will get it resolved. So that's where accountability comes. It's on you. You are answerable to each and every action that you are doing. And if you're capable of doing it and achieving it, Nothing like that. Why? Because at the end of the day, responsibility is the birth for the accountability factor altogether. So please keep in mind, responsibility gives birth to accountability, and it is very, very important when we are talking about the delegation of authority. Moving further, we're going to talk about achievement of delegation. Yet more interesting topic: assignment of task and duty, granting of authority, creating responsibility and accountability. So we're going to divide this entire thing into three phases. Phase 1, task and duty, where we're going to assign it. Phase 2, where we're going to grant the authority. Phase 3, we are creating the responsibility and accountability. Let's move further. First one, assignment of duty. So what am I going to do here? The delegator will first try to define the task and duty to the subordinate. So I have found out this is the task. I want to delegate it to somebody. I find the right person. Then I give the job to him with a proper definition of role and responsibilities that has to be accomplished as per the needs there. Now, I don't just take the job and throw it to somebody. First of all, I have to find the right person. I have to define the roles and responsibility. I have to tell him what exactly it is expected, how the results have to be measured. The clarity in terms of doing the job has to be done. Then probably I can go ahead and give that delegation to him. Followed by granting of authority. Now, what I'm trying to do to that person is that since he is going to do the job on behalf of me, I'm going to grant him an authority. I'm going to give him the power to execute the job. I'm not giving him power to make decisions. I'm not giving him power to change the job, change the role, or do whatever he likes. I'm just giving him an authority on behalf of me, which is needed to complete the job. So managers at all levels will delegate authority and power, which is attached to their job position. So my position, my role, whatever is it, as a manager, as a team leader, as a VP, wherever, I am giving that delegated authority to my subordinates in order to complete the work. So that's where that effective subordination comes into picture. So this is very, very important. Why? Because I want to give my subordinates enough independence, enough space so that they are able to complete the task. I don't want to choke them with the work. I don't want to say that this is the end of life. I want to give them that space, make them understand that yes, we can do it. And then I'm going to give them the space to execute the work. Followed by creating responsibility, which is yet more interesting. Why? Because when I create that responsibility, it does not end with the power. I've given them the same time to be obligatory towards the assigned factor. I've made them responsible for the work. So they have to carry out the duties. They have to take the work seriously. They have to find out whether they will be able to carry on with the assignment. And responsibility becomes very, very important. Why? Because that's where the effectiveness of the authority would be measured. So moment I'm giving on to the third part, that's the responsibility side, I am making them accountable indirectly, and I'm telling them that you need to complete the task as per the given factors. Followed by relationship between the authority and responsibility. Authority is like a legal right on a person or a superior command. Responsibility is like an obligation. So I just want you to get this factor very clear. Authority is more about a formal power. When I talk about responsibility, it is more about an obligation. So authority is as per standards of performance. Responsibility is as per the instruction. So 2 points. One, it is a formal. Responsibility is informal. The authority comes with set of standards. Responsibility comes with a set of instructions. So responsibility is a milder version according to me, whereas authority is a higher version. It's even more, a formal version of defining power altogether. Followed by, it is only through authority a manager exercises control. In this way, there are enough exercising factor. Why? Because manager will just try to control the situation by throwing his power there. That's where you need an authority. Whereas in case of responsibility, it is the initiative that is taken up by the employee itself. Why? Because everybody will not take the responsibility of doing a work. They'll think that I have some more time to do it. It's not my job. So in case of authority, it is more about, you are formally pressing somebody in terms of taking up the job. Whereas in case of responsibility, you need to be more on the milder version altogether. Now, we can say that authority will always flow from the top to bottom, responsibility will flow from the bottom to top. So this is the responsibility factor where I put it as R, and this is the authority factor which flows from the top to bottom. Accountability is a result of responsibility, and responsibility is a result of authority. Look at the chain factor. Accountability comes from the factor called as responsibility, comes from the factor called as authority. So you can see the whole lot of chain link that comes into picture through which we are able to achieve the results. Now with this, I come to the conclusion of this particular chapter. Now this particular exercise that we have been speaking about is more about on the delegation of authority. I hope and believe that all the resources shared through this session will be of a great benefit and help to you, both in terms of practical as well as in terms of the theory factor. Now coming forward, we will be talking about the different types of organization, the structure and the committees altogether. But before that, stay tuned, stay blessed and stay enlightened forever. Thank you once again for joining me today on this wonderful session.